Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter number 6, Dhyana Yoga, text number 1. Shri Bhagavana Vacha Anashritah karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na nirgunair na chakrayaha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we can see this chapter, of course, like all other chapters, is very, very important. In this chapter, Krishna is going to explain to Arjuna, in other words, to us, what exactly is Dhyana Yoga? What is meditation in the true sense? And along with that, he'll also talk about mystic yoga. Who is a true mystic yogi? Not someone who lights no fire, like Krishna is saying in this today's verse. But the first important point to cover in this verse is Sri Bhagavana Vacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said. So it's not an ordinary personality or a historical personality talking. No, it is the Supreme Lord Himself, Bhagavan. Bhaga means opulences and Van means possessor of those opulences. Many times I have given references from the scriptures that clearly indicate that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. First one is from Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. Lord Brahma, the first created being, is clearly saying that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Krishna himself says, we learned it last week, the very last verse of chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action and Krishna Consciousness, where Krishna says, Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwara. He is the Maha Ishvara of all the planets, all the demigods, and everybody. So, important point to understand is Sri Bhagavana Uvacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said. Now, what does he say? Who is a true mystic yogi? One who's unattached to the fruits of the activities. That is where that causes bondage. When we get attached to enjoying the fruits of our activities, that is when we get reactions. So, a true mystic yogi is the one who is not attached to the fruits and is working because he or she is obligated to work. In other words, they are performing a karma, which means acting according to the scriptures, according to laws of the Supreme Lord, and not desiring to enjoy the fruits of those activities. Such a person, Krishna says, is renounced, even though that person may not have taken officially a renounced order of life, like a sannyas, has not officially done that. But in consciousness is already renounced. You see, that is a true mystic according to Krishna, not someone who lights no fire, gives up family, goes to the mountains to meditate. No, no. So, this chapter entitled Dhyana Yoga is very apt. Why? Because most people are unaware of the meaning of Dhyana Yoga. What is it? You see, the purpose of yoga system is to control the mind, because mind is the central part of the whole yoga system. Now, What is not yoga? Very important to understand. What is not yoga? That yoga which is used to bring the blood pressure down, that yoga which is done in the office in the breaks, or a desktop yoga, or chair yoga, or yoga for pregnant women, or yoga for weight loss, or yoga for back care, anything to do with the body, that is not yoga. Yoga is connection with the supreme. That is real yoga. How to link ourselves to the supreme Lord and the spiritual world. Now, how to do that? Krishna is giving us the indication in this verse to be unattached to the fruits of our activities. Then automatically we'll become renounced. Even without taking sannyas, we will be renounced. It won't be necessary for us to wear saffron clothes, to have, for men to have long beard. No. All we need to do is just renounce the fruits of our activities. Why? Because Krishna explained in chapter 3 and 5 how not to get entangled in this material world, because every action has a reaction. So when we are performing actions without enjoyment of fruits, in other words, renouncing those fruits, then there are no more reactions. Just perform the duty because we are obligated to do, and do it with detachment. That is the secret of success. Now, Krishna is talking about this before Ashtanga Yoga because he wants us to understand that there is no need to give up work, but to give up only the fruits. No need to go to the forest and meditate. Just do our duty without being attached to the fruits. Now, this is very important to understand before we hear about Ashtanga Yoga so that there is no confusion. Now, we are taking our knowledge from the Bhagavad Gita, but it's important to put it into practice also. Like Srila Prabhupada says, philosophy without religion is just mental speculation. And religion without philosophy is just pure sentiment. So we need both. We need to understand how to take on this knowledge and how to put it into practice. Both are necessary, you see, knowledge and application. So this chapter, as I said, is entitled Dhyana Yoga, in which Krishna is going to explain the process of eightfold yoga system. And the purpose of that is to control the mind and senses. Dhyana. Dhyana means to meditate. So Dhyana Yoga, actually meditation, in Kali Yuga is very difficult to do. Many times I've given this reference where it is explained, Krite yadhyayato Vishnu. In Satya Yuga, the process of self-realization was meditation on the Supreme Lord. But in Kali Yuga, Kalautat Hari Kirtana. In Kali Yuga, the process is chanting the holy names of the Lord. So Dhyana Yoga is difficult to perform in Kali Yuga. Now, in the very next verse, number 2, Krishna is talking about real renunciation. He says there should be no desire to enjoy the senses. That mystic yogi who has purified the consciousness understands who he is, that I am not this body, but I am the spirit soul, and then performs karma according to the scriptures. That is real renunciation because that is internal as well. Understanding I'm not this body, but I'm a spirit soul. Now, when one does that, when one goes beyond bodily concept, then one starts getting connected with Krishna. Then one understands how to change the consciousness or purify it so that it becomes Krishna conscious, right? And that is recommended even in the Bhagavad Gita. So the Krishna conscious person is the real yogi, is the real mystic yogi and the renunciate as well. Why? Because that devotee who's devoted to Krishna is engaging all the senses spiritually and remaining conscious of Krishna all the time. So such a person is considered to be a true mystic yogi, restraining the senses and using it in Krishna's service. See, so, but important point to understand is the desire to enjoy will still be there. You see, it's not that we'll become desireless. No, that situation is never going to happen. The desire will be there, but it'll be given up in service to Krishna. That is linking with the Supreme Lord in yoga. And Prabhupada explains in one of the purports that a true yogi, cannot really renounce until and unless it is the senses are used in Krishna's service. The intention to enjoy the senses will be gone. The intention will then become how to give enjoyment to the senses of the Supreme Lord. Now, in verse number 3, Krishna is talking about the yoga ladder, like karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, ashtanga yoga, bhakti yoga. The beginning of the ladder is called yoga rukshu stage, which means it is the beginning. And the highest rung of yoga ladder is called yoga ruddha stage, which is bhakti yoga. So you see, these are the two stages. And then these are further divided into 8 steps, which is called Ashtanga. Ashta means 8 and Anga means parts. So Ashtanga, that is the meaning of Ashtanga. So in the beginning stage, one must work neither detached enough nor pure enough to renounce work. That is our beginning stage, you see. Then one can start renouncing work, and that would actually come only at an advanced stage. And that advanced stage is called Yoga Ruddha stage. Only when one has reached that pure stage, one will be able to renounce and not get disturbed. You see, our mind gets disturbed very quickly. We have expectations, and when those expectations are not met, we get disturbed. Why? Because the mind is not under control. So if one, Prabhupada explains, if one is linking via meditation, that is called Ashtanga Yoga. You see? So for that, one has to follow some niyam. Niyam means regulative principles. So these first 2 stages are called, you can say, prescription or prohibitions. And only after learning to strictly follow the rules, then one can go to the next stage, which is called the asanas, the sitting postures, which is used in yoga, you see. Then people will be able to actually understand the real meaning of yoga. Otherwise, in general public thing, yoga means asanas, just the postures, that is only concerned with the body, how to improve the body, or how to make the body more strong, etc. Yoga is not for that, you see. People commonly call such asanas as hatha yoga. Asanas are just sitting postures. But when this is mastered, then one can go to the next stage, which is called pranayama, which is the breath control. And breath is, of course, intimately connected with the mind. And then when that stage is controlled, then one goes to the next stage, which is called pratyahara. Pratyahara means controlling the senses from enjoyment. I want this and I want to enjoy that. That is withdrawing the senses from sense objects. Then when one gets detached in that sense, then one will practice dharana. Dharana means being completely fixed up. And after that will come dhyan, which is meditation, and then samadhi, which is the final stage. Samadhi is where there is complete absorption. One is the mind is completely absorbed in thinking about Krishna. In samadhi, the mind and consciousness, they are fully focused on Krishna. So this is Ashtanga, you see, 8 limbs of yoga system. But what is the ultimate purpose of yoga? Is to link with Krishna, to have a connection with Krishna. That is what it actually means. So those who have reached the highest rung of the yoga ladder, which is Bhakti Yoga, that is the best, the topmost. You see, so from beginning, they are on the platform of meditation. They practice meditation, and which is every day, which I always talk about. Every class, I talk about mantra meditation. That is the highest rung of yoga ladder. Now, in the very next verse, Krishna is talking about, and that is verse number 4, how to be elevated in yoga, which is possible only when one renounces material desires. Now, material desires renouncing means dovetailing them. For instance, I have a desire to maybe eat pizza. Well, I cannot control that, but I can always dovetail it. I make nice pizza at home with the consciousness that I'm going to offer it to the Lord. I offer that pizza to Krishna and it becomes prasadam, sanctified food. And I can enjoy that pizza, which is now spiritualized. You see? So material desires have to be dovetailed, but one also needs guidance because the mind may, you know, carry us on a path which is not Krishna conscious. The mind may say, oh, this is also for Krishna, oh, it's okay to offer. No, Krishna has made it very clear all that things that we can offer to him in very clear words, you see. So when one renounces material desires, when one fully engaged in devotional service, satisfying the Supreme Lord, that is a final stage which is called Yoga Rudha. It starts with Dhyana. Dhyan means meditation, mantra meditation, and this is recommended in Kali Yuga. And if we follow this process of mantra meditation on a daily basis, then we are satisfying the Supreme Lord. And when we satisfy Him, we satisfy everybody. Prabhupada gives two very good examples. I've talked about this many times. One is when we put food in the stomach, the whole body gets nourished. When we water the root of the tree, the whole tree gets nourished. You see, so when we satisfy Krishna, everyone gets satisfied. So one can be a yogi even while living in the family, in the house with the family, going to a job or doing business. It doesn't matter because it's a state of consciousness. It has nothing to do with what we are doing. So a true yogi, a true mystic yogi renounces material desires, renounces fruitive work, and in that state of consciousness, and continues to work, do the prescribed duty, but without any attachment to those activities. Now, verse number 5, Krishna is talking about how the mind is the culprit, how the mind can fool us. We think that that is not true, but it is, because mind is the central part of the yoga practice. Until and unless the mind is under control, there is no way one can practice yoga. That's not possible. And if we do not control the mind, Krishna tells Arjuna, then the mind will become our worst enemy. But if we can control the mind, then it'll become our best friend. So we need to train the mind. How? First of all, with knowledge. Very, very important. Just like kids are, given training, kids are told how, what is right, what is wrong. So also, the mind needs to be controlled with the yoga system. You see, and the topmost rung of yoga is bhakti yoga. So when we start practicing bhakti yoga, our mind will automatically come under control and not get entangled, but will get liberated. So it's important to engage the mind. Just like children, they can be destructive if they are not properly engaged. They'll run here and there, break things, and climb up and fall down, whatever. But if the children are engaged properly, then they will not be destructive at all. The same applies to the mind. When the mind is engaged in consciousness of the Supreme Lord, then one can deliver oneself with the mind instead of degrading oneself. Choice is ours. What do we want to do? We want to make the mind our best friend, or we want to make our mind our worst enemy. The choice is ours. And the mind actually works with the help of false ego. And that false ego is very harmful. It causes bondage. What is a false ego? According to the Bhagavad Gita, false ego is when we consider I am this body. That is false ego, because that's not true. This body is just a covering, because we are the spirit soul. That is real ego. That is our real identity. So when we start doing mantra meditation on a daily basis, when the mind comes under control, and then automatically the senses come under control. Now, in verse number 6, Krishna is telling Arjuna to train the mind and make it a friend by using intelligence. You see, we human beings have philosophical intelligence with which we can understand who we are, why are we here in this material world, what is the purpose of human form of life, where do we go from here, after we give up this body. So all these questions can be asked using intelligence. And to use the intelligence properly, we need guidance, you see. And Krishna, the Supreme Lord, is the smartest guy we can think of because he is the Supreme Lord. And so he has given us the Bhagavad Gita, which gives us, it's actually a manual for human beings, how to lead this human form of life, you see. So, if the mind is uncontrolled, then one will fall into unwanted things like lust, anger, greed, etc., and pride. Excuse me. But if one has a sincere desire, we have heard that statement, God helps those who help themselves. So when we make that sincere effort to help ourselves, the Supreme Lord is definitely going to help us. Why? Because He's situated in our hearts as a super soul, Paramatma. He's there to guide us. But He's waiting for us to take the first step. Because He wants to give us the freedom of choice. He wants us to choose on our own. It should not be forced. Just like, I want my husband to love me. I cannot put a gun on his head and say, love me. I cannot force. Love has to come from within. It's a personal choice. Same applies to the Lord. He can force us, but He does not. He gives us the choice, the freedom of choice. Do we want to or we do not? Based on our choice, He guides us. So, in verse number 7, Krishna is telling Arjuna that when the mind is conquered or when the mind is controlled, then one will attain tranquility. I'm sure all of us want tranquility. All of us want to be content. All of us want to be completely satisfied. All of us want to be above dualities, which means we don't get affected whether there is success or failure, happiness or distress. Nothing should bother us. That is the stage everyone is, hankering for. And here Krishna is giving us the knowledge by which we can reach that stage. How? By controlling the mind. Now, in this verse, Krishna is also giving us symptoms of someone whose mind is under control. We would like to know, right? If we want to reach that stage, we would like to know, have we reached that stage or not? And how do we know? When we have the knowledge about the symptoms of some person who has reached that stage. Now, what is that? Krishna says, first of all, the mind is under control. The senses are under control. One is following the directions of the super soul within the heart. And one is fully satisfied. There is self control. Then one is practicing bhakti yoga on a daily basis, you see. And one is seeing everyone equally with an equal vision. If you remember, we covered this verse, sama darshinaha. See every living entity equally. It doesn't matter, not just human beings, but animals, aquatics, birds, insects, trees, all living entities equally. And one is not disturbed whether one is happy or in distress, does not get affected by these dualities. So Krishna says, such a person is very satisfied, self controlled, and is associating with like minded people. Let me give you an example. If I want to learn, um, say, dancing or music, if I associate with those who already know dancing and music, I will get benefit with their association because I will learn from them. Similarly, if we want to become, come to the stage of transcendence, then we associate with such people because association is very important. And if we practice mantra meditation on a daily basis, this will be very pleasing to the Lord and He will guide us to such association. Krishna says tripta. Tripta means that person is very satisfied. After gaining knowledge from the Bhagavad Gita and putting it into practice, that person, that devotee is so satisfied that does not hanker for anything. Is not running after, I want this or I want that. Maintaining a satisfied mood. Now, that is not easy. Why? Because the mind is whimsical, the mind is restless, the mind is running here and there everywhere. It's so difficult to focus the mind in the right direction. But when we take on this transcendental knowledge from the Bhagavad Gita, then it is possible to steady the mind. Then it is possible to even start practicing mantra meditation. Then Krishna says one will come to a stage of being equipoised. And that is possible when one is sincere and serious about this path of devotional service. So the verse number 9 is actually explaining or describing the most advanced stage of yoga rudha. And the very last verse for today is the the knowledge that we are getting from verse number 10 is, what should a transcendentalist or a self-realized person do? This should be our question. What needs to be done? And Krishna is explaining how to practice yoga. He says one needs to become completely free of material desires, completely free of possessiveness. You know, people in general are so attached to their possessions. Some are attached to the spouse, children, family. You see, affection is good, but not attachment. There's a big difference. You see? So one needs to become completely free of material desires. And then one will be able to actually realize yoga. Yoga is linking with the Supreme. And the final verse of this chapter number 6, which is entitled Dhyana Yoga, Krishna will explain what is the topmost yoga practice. You see, engaging the mind and the senses in relationship with the Lord, controlling the mind and the senses, becoming free from possessiveness, because possessiveness is attachment, and attachment generally leads to distress because attachment leads to expectations. And we have noticed mostly our expectations are not met, and that leads to frustration. So, how to control the mind and senses? We can follow a golden rule. I had heard about this golden rule, and that golden rule is smartavya satatam Vishnu vismartavya na jatuchit. If we always remember the Supreme Lord Krishna or Vishnu and never forget Krishna or Vishnu, then it'll be very easy to control the mind and senses. Now, it's complementary. If we remember all the time the Supreme Lord, we'll never forget him. And if we never forget the Supreme Lord, that means we are always remembering him. That is a golden rule. You see, when we came into this material world, we came empty handed. We didn't bring anything with us. And when we leave this body, we have to go empty handed. There's nothing we can take with us, right? So, why not understand that nothing belongs to us? So, why be possessive of anything? Nothing belongs to us. Everything belongs to the Lord, you see? So, if we don't forget the goal of human form of life, which is to become self-realized, then we will be able to become a perfect yogi. A perfect yogi. So I have covered verses 1 through 10 today. And from the next verse onwards, number 11 onwards, Krishna will give knowledge about Ashtanga Yoga. What exactly is the meaning of Ashtanga Yoga? That is what we will learn in the next class. Unfortunately, there'll be no class next week because my guru is coming to Atlanta, and I will be busy, with his lectures, taking him around, and he'll be giving a lot of lectures. And so there will be no class next Sunday, but we will meet Sunday after next for sure. And so the summary of today's 10 verses is to engage the mind and the body and the senses in service to the Supreme Lord. How? Very simple method, and that is to chant the holy names of the Lord. What are the holy names of the Lord? Yes, Ananda Krishna Prabhu, he showed us the beads and the bead bag. The holy name of the Lord is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So I'm going to chant 10 times, and it's my very humble request to all of you. Please chant with me and chant on the daily basis also. Now there are 108 beads in this whole mala. It is called the mala. And each bead we chant the whole Maha Mantra. So if we chant the Maha Mantra on all 108 beads, that will take about 8 minutes. I would say 8 to 10 minutes. And I guarantee you, it'll give you so much peace and satisfaction just by chanting. So please chant with me. We'll chant 10 times right now, but at your convenience, you can chant 108 times, okay? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So you see, it's very, very simple, not difficult at all. So it's my very humble request. Please chant every day. Do this mantra meditation so that we can become more happy and more peaceful. So I will end here now. If anyone has any questions or comments, you are welcome to ask.